I'd talk about the findings report, but I would guess as every trash of that kind eventually finds its way to you, you'd already have it. Maybe you dimwits already know what has been causing all of this, but did nothing because it's typical to your profile. But I don't care. I just want closure. Hope you bastards can get me some of that. I'll tell you what has happened, and then I'll ask some questions. I have max clearance, so you will answer. 3 days ago, a day after the specimen had been acquired and eventually analyzed, we received a call from the town.
He picked a cassette player from the table and pressed play. A grainy, overly processed voice went through.
Help! Something has shown up! We don't want so many dying! Oh God! Please send help! From the sky! It was all... I don't know what they were. They had to be all... But... they're shaped like...
The recording was abruptly cut by the sound of an explosion.
We sent our man to check, as a couple other calls went in, each more inconclusive than the other, babbling nonsense about extraterrestrials and dismemberment. We waited, but the first squad wouldn't reply, nor did the local police. And after a couple hours, this.
A new tape played.
Corporal Timothy pointed to HQ. We're in cover. The enemy is currently unknown. The enemy don't look human, HQ. The enemy's just arms, white and pitch black arms struck to flying saucers? The enemy possesses huge firepower and, as of now, not recognized weaponry. When we've arrived, we've recognized the Sigma Squadron members Johnson and Mervyn, both impaled by one of those enemy's ships. We can't confirm the number of casualties, civilian or otherwise. Its weaponry seems able of causing fires and explosions by simply being pointed at objects. Yet it seems to have a preference towards more gruesome methods. The attack seems to be happening full scale. We don't know how long... Send backup, ASAP!
The audio cut. The cassette player was thrown at the table, as if the man was having a fit.
We sent backup, and then waited.
The general pulled his receding hair back, while breathing heavily.
At that point, the vast majority of our men had been sent to the town. No radio signals back. Every long-distance communication method, friggin' scrambled. In the end of the day, there were only me, a couple of sergeants, half a dozen of scientists, and 10 men remaining. And as the sun set, the explosion ceased on the outskirts of the base. We could only guess there was no one left. Yet, we were ready to fight until death. We knew, to a certain extent, what we were dealing with. That is, if the reports were of any help. We had to get set, so at the armory, Dr. Chinkowski did the fastest briefing he could. He's now holding the camera.
A hand waved in front of the lens, followed by the general cleaning his throat. A small group left inside the bunker, but even such nimble reaction was rapidly followed by reprehension.
He was, sadly, injured during the attack. Can't people squeak?
A penetrating stare hit the man on the couch.
But I'm sure it can be fixed. After that, the man stood ready as I and Dr. Jankowski waited inside the safe room, dialing for external support every 5 minutes. His assistants were at the comms room on the roof, trying to get a quick fix in order for us to get at least some goddamn thing through. We waited anxiously, only me and the doctor knowing in whole what was going to get us eventually. Circa 8 PM, we got a radio signal. We couldn't record it, as the scienceman managed to scramble the whole damn system by trying to make it work. It was Officer Trolip, but his voice was clearly funny. He said that he and a couple of men had lived through that what had happened. He said that victory was theirs, and ours to be had as it was to be had in being. We figured that the whole mess made his head scramble. It didn't. But by God, I wish we had shot them when we could. We lowered the defenses, had them in. Officer Trollop had successfully returned with Cadets Markwell and Stevenson. All of them were off. We were so full of joy of knowing someone had gotten out that somehow we did the impossible and won, that we didn't even bother thinking much by how far out from normality those men were behaving. We were pouring champagne. Don't judge us. And laughing out at the fact that not even the little men from space could take us down. We knew they weren't men at all. But circa 10 p.m., I drunkenly tried to contact for help. Still radio silence. Wariness hit me, so I decided to ask some of the men how the attack went. I could only see Markwell in the corner. Every man's head in the room seemed to be filled with light. I assumed it was the alcohol. Dazed, I asked him how did the encounter go. No reply, as the boy stared blankly at the ceiling. I ordered him, this time with harshness. Some words seemed to try to come from his mouth. I couldn't quite make them out. The champagne got the better of me, and so I shook him. Quite violently. I wasn't going to take silence as a response again. I couldn't handle a single second of it for the rest of my life. The cadet fell to the floor, shaking uncontrollably. Before I could reach him, all of the other men in the room quickly grabbed him. I didn't even notice how fast they got him in the table, as he had several convulsions. The doctor screamed that Markwell had to be put in a safe room. His second assistant, however, disagreed, saying he had to be treated on the medical bay. Jankowski slapped him. He said we were fools to not expect any kind of infection when those men were dealing with what they were.
The camera shook a little.
After arguing with this man and me, the doctor said that whoever wants to help stays locked with the infected. 2 of his men decided to, while mine stood loyal.
The camera shook again, this time more visibly. The general made a face of distaste.
I added that the safe room was vital, so we conceded to the interrogation room. After that, he asked for the other 2 of the returned. They were nowhere in sight, and nor was one of mine, so I quickly commanded my remaining to wash their faces and get them to the safe room. The doctor complied, and told them that, if Trollop and Stevenson were met with resistance, to subdue them. I wasn't so sure of that, but our man here knew what he was saying.
He looked down, blankly.
If it weren't for that, not even the 2 of us would have survived.
What on earth happened to those men? Do you think you already got the gist of the truth? Be ready! Things can only get more and more gruesome down this road.